It's time now for County-Wide, a special presentation of Yavapai Broadcasting News. Join Paul David and Brad Miller as they talk with our community's leaders, newsmakers, and people in the know. You'll hear about the hot topics that affect all our lives here in Yavapai County. And now, here's today's County-Wide.
Welcome to County-Wide. I'm Paul David. Good to have you in the studio with us today. Senator Tom O'Halloran in studio today. We're talking Verde River Basin Partnership. You were here a couple months ago. Has it been a couple months?
It was June.
It was June.
It's been a while.
I'm going to stop doing that because I do it every time. You guys come back and sit down, and it's been longer than I thought it was. But you guys came in with the Verde River Basin Partnership, and you had kind of an idea, a plan on how you were going to, I guess, better educate the public about that one resource that we all have to stay alive.
It's about education, but it's not. It's more than just identifying facts and figures. It's about creating within the public a concept that we need to value this resource. Mm-hmm. You know, if we don't value something, we don't care for it very well.
And I mentioned before the show, I really do take it for granted that every time I go up and turn the faucet or turn the shower on, that it's going to work. Right. But the day that ended, I was just thinking about this morning, if there was no Verde River and no water in the Verde Valley, there'd be no Verde Valley. It would pick up and leave.
Yeah, and a lot of people talk about, well, we'll use augmentation and transport water from the Colorado. And as you've seen recently in the paper, Prescott is having a very hard time, the Prescott region, even having enough money to build a pipeline 30 miles from Big Chino into the Prescott area. Mm-hmm. I mean, these are very expensive infrastructure projects, even on a small scale like that. And when you're talking about bringing water in from the Colorado River, potentially, or desalinization plants of whether it's brackish water that may be underneath us in quantities large enough, or transportation across mountains to get water in from other types of desalinization plants. You're really talking about, today water is free. Mm-hmm. All we pay for is the infrastructure. The water comes out of the ground. Nobody charges anybody for the water. When you have to start creating more water and paying for that water on top of the infrastructure, you are really going to create problems for yourself as far as your quality of life, because there are laws dealing with what kind of water you can even put in the river. Oh, we just bring some of that water in to put in the river. No, there are laws and there's ecological issues involved with even that. Mm-hmm. And so the cost issues are some of the things that we want to talk about to folks about also, but the valuing the resource is critical. What does it mean to our economy, the tourism economy? There's 12,000 jobs in the Verde Valley, Sedona area that are created out of tourism. 12,000. Our workforce is only about 25,000 or 26,000.
So, okay, that's a little more.
So just think how many jobs in this region right here mm-hmm. are created from the natural wonders that we are lucky enough to have around us. And the water element is critical not only because of what it does for recreation and stuff, but what it does for the wildlife and the other values. The groundwater helps keep all these trees alive. It helps make sure that the diversity of grasslands and so forth are kept at an appropriate level. As that's brought down, everything else either dies off because it can't compete with the depth of the water, mm-hmm. or and other species come in, plant species come in that are not the best for this area.
Well, how do we get this value? How do we get people to value it?
Well, I think part of it is just people starting to understand that their day-to-day lives are wrapped up in water. You wake up, you take a shower, you get a glass of water, you cook with water and everything else. Our problem is that folks are rotating in and out of here so fast, and new people are coming in, and it has to be a continual educational effort. And then there's the whole aspect of how we look at water from the perspective of an asset as far as quality of life. Now, we have, it's the necessity of life.
Yes.
But I am only here 10 years, 20 years. Sure, there's going to be water.
It won't be my problem once I'm gone.
And that's right. So we have to instill a sense of value in folks and a sense of preservation and sustainability. I was at a meeting the other day, and the speaker had talked about a culture of sustainability. Now, we're not talking about any radical concepts of environment. All we're talking about is preserving something that benefits us each and every day of our lives, mm-hmm. every day. And do we want it to benefit our children into the future and their children? and it's a national asset. People look at the Verde Valley, over 70% of the watershed are federal lands. So it's not just an asset of the people in this region, it's an asset of the American public. And it's a worldwide destination. I mean, the Verde River and Oak Creek Canyon and Fossil, I mean, do you talk about natural wonders?
Right, right.
You fly over the Southwest and you have to go, I don't know where you go to find what we have. And there's a reason why we all moved here.
Right.
And we just have to start to understand that day we said we're going to move here and look around and say, well, one of the reasons is it has water and it's beautiful. And this water helps provide some of that beauty.
So do you guys kind of look at other agencies like Game and Fish? They noticed a drop off in hunting and fishing licenses. That hunting and fishing just wasn't really something as many people were doing anymore, because we were talking about, large families before the show, that, used to be you had large families because of agriculture. Now you have families with 1, 2 kids and that's about it. So that's kind of changed. Well, you really don't have to go out and hunt your own food or go catch your own fish. But they've come up with a way and a program to kind of get people back into that. So have you looked at some of these other agencies maybe, or other programs that made people take this and say, you know what, that is a valuable thing to me?
The partnership includes all those agencies.
Okay.
We have 5 different federal agencies as part of the partnership, 5 state agencies. Game and Fish is one of them, Fish and Wildlife Service another one. Part of what you've seen in those areas is not a drop-off because people aren't wanting to hunt and fish. It's that it costs money to hunt and fish. Not only the license and the tag for hunting, but you have to travel from Phoenix or travel from somewhere. And in general, that's part of the tourism industry that statewide that had been down for a while and is now slowly coming back up as the economy improves. But there was just a recent study out by the Arizona State Water Commission, which is part of ADWR. They're looking into the future plans of Arizona. And that's where people have to have a connection also. They have to understand that by 2050, this commission projects. Now, this is just now, so they've taken into account the slow times we've just had since '08 and so forth. That this state, by 2050, is going to be over 12 million people. We're at 6.6 million people now.
We're double.
We're going to almost double. And then within 100 years, we'll triple to 18 plus million people. What that means is where is all that resource, that water resource coming from? And for the Verde Valley area, if
is that even possible?
If Phoenix, well, don't know. I'll tell you what, it'll have a severe impact if the planners that are out there today don't understand how to plan and don't take into account the longer range views that we need to start taking into account. Because if Phoenix the metropolitan area, goes from about 4 million plus people to 8 million or 9 million plus people, and they are in our backyard by then because they continue to expand north.
Sure.
We become a kind of a short-term suburb of that area. And what impact is that going to have on us? Sure, it's going to up our tourism numbers, at least day use for sure.
Sure.
But it's also going to impact every natural resource that we have. And so as we start to plan out in these thought processes that we need to do, we need to take that into account. The impact and the demand of people that don't want to live in an environment of 7 million people or 8 million people wanting to live in an environment like we are blessed to have. It's going to be tremendous. So we're going to continue to see how we need to deal with the growth and natural resource balancing equation as we move forward. We don't do that by an inactive public. We do that only by a public saying we need to take these things into account now so that our business can survive, so that the cost factors for a homeowner are not going to be continually increasing through additional water costs. And water costs are extreme as you get into these. The more you have to go down underground for your water, the more you have to augment water supplies and bring it in from the outside. And we were talking earlier, they can't afford a pipeline from Big Chino to Prescott, and it's about $140 million in today's dollars with just the capital investment. And people are talking about bringing water into the Verde Valley and this whole northern Arizona region from the Colorado River. Well, first of all, the Colorado River is going to have water shortages by 2025, 2030. So the competition that we're up against is trying to buy water in an environment of shortage where our competitors are Phoenix and San Diego and Los Angeles and people with millions and millions of people with tons of dollars. I don't know that I want to deal with that from the cost standpoint of the bidding war when you're going to lose.
That would get real costly, yeah.
Oh, tremendous cost.
We'll take a break. Tom O'Halloran, the Verde River Basin Partnership in studio today. I'm Paul David. Stick around. Countywide will be back in just a couple minutes.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
I was in junior high the first time I caught my mom using denial. She had to have known her painkillers were missing because I kept stealing them. Her denial was so out of hand.
So she doesn't even know? I'm going out.
It was like I could get away with anything.
You kids have fun.
And that was when I knew. And she was addicted to denial.
Denial is a drug. Get help. The partnership at drugfree.org.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
Now, some action from the courts. Billie Jean King renewing her rivalry with Arthritis. First set, furious volley, and right to the net for a winner. Beautiful forehand there. Arthritis, stunned. And here, match point. Billie Jean with the ace, taking it in straight sets. Afterwards, a jubilant Billie Jean King.
Tennis is a weapon for me with arthritis. There's nothing like it for me to hit a ball, run to the ball, anytime, any court. I'm ready. Let's go.
What's your weapon against arthritis? Find out at fightarthritispain.org.
Welcome back to Countywide. I'm Paul David. Tom O'Halloran with the Verde River Basin Partnership in studio today. Verde River Day coming up Saturday. We should probably mention that. That's
Verde River Day Saturday over at Dead Horse Ranch State Park. We're going to have a booth.
You'll be there, huh?
Oh yeah, definitely.
I'm surprised.
We're going to be there, and we're going to be at Yavapai County Fair, which starts Thursday and runs through Sunday.
Right, over at Tim's Toyota.
Yeah, we have a whole team of people that are going to be all over the county.
So this would be a great way to get more information from you. If they don't get it right here and they don't go to the website and get information, they can come down and talk to you or one of the
Definitely, I'm going to be at Verde River Days.
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
So.
Water resources notes number 2. Now we're talking about, okay, how do we get the public to value the water? And I think you mentioned that I think everybody kind of has a general value of water.
Yeah, and the first one was, the notes were, is the Verde River at risk? And the answer is yes.
Yes, and it has been for years and years, and years to come.
And will continue to be.
Correct.
You know, it's a consistent effort. The second notes deals with the water cycle. You know, where does our water come from, both locally, but also that we have to understand that it comes from rains that come in from California that start in the ocean or start in a hurricane down in the Baja area, like there's one right now.
Yeah, we saw these come
up
through
the Gulf during the monsoon season, and that when these rains fall, we look at all this rain. But the fact is that only 2 to 4% of that gets back down in our groundwater. Mm-hmm. And if we, by the way, happen to use 6% of it, then the recharge value of 4% doesn't keep up with the usage.
Right.
And the higher that usage number becomes, the less we have as far as recharge, and the more impact we're having on the aquifer. And that doesn't even take into account the climate change issues whatever the causes of climate change, whether it's a 50-year duration or a lifetime duration. The fact is that we're warmer now, and it's creating a climate that is having a profound impact on our aquifers. So
what do we do?
Well, education is one of those. These notes, the first notes, the second one is dealing with the water cycle. The third ones are coming out in October, dealing with modeling, groundwater modeling. We want people to understand. They're written in a way that everybody can understand them.
Thank you for that.
That's one of our intents. There's enough science out there. You have to take that science and make it into something people understand, and not a bunch of this language that even I have a hard time at times keeping up with. And so we want to get it distilled down to something that the person out there on the ground understands fully about what the impacts they're going to have on the system. Now we're going to identify what a model is, so that this confusion and all this noise out there about groundwater models this and groundwater, they can start to understand that a groundwater model is something that you live with and that it changes over time because of different knowledge that comes in. But where they are used, historically, they have been good predictors of the future on how the water, groundwater especially, is going to be impacted. And so all this noise out there about, oh, this is a terrible model, the Northern Arizona Regional Groundwater Flow Model, a terrible model, you know, we need more work. That was the same arguments that went on in Phoenix, in Tucson, in Prescott, you know, and guess what? Those models, over time, just all they did was become better, and their predictions early on were verified time and time and time again. These models are all over the world. So we just want people to have an understanding of that. And then we're going to get into some of those things that people can do to help change the direction we're going in. The conservation issues, not just the low flow toilets and things like that, but shower heads and stuff, but you know, appropriate irrigation. Most of our water goes towards irrigation outside. Water harvesting, which you and I have talked about.
Right, and I mentioned Clarkdale did the park. The town hall park right there is all based on the water harvest.
A great
to show
project.
That.
We've had meetings over there, and I've watched the development of that. You know, and it's just, you know, just a great concept, and it's a concept that's used. You were mentioning how your dad did rainwater
back when I was a kid,
in Minnesota.
In Minnesota, he had 50-gallon drums under each rain gutter.
Lakes, because he was able to capture that water and use it for house plants in the house.
Right.
Well, here we can do rainwater harvesting here, and I just had a meeting the other day with what they call the Sedona Slow Water Team. And what we're looking at is trying to create a demonstration project to show people that through curb cuts and the type of vegetation that we're using and stuff like that, instead of having that water rush to the river and move on down,
rush out of here
and head on down to Phoenix, we can try to capture some of that water in a way that our plants can use it, and it's going to cause less flooding throughout the area, because just like a ditch is built with a subdivision sometimes, you see, so that it doesn't create a flash flood issue, this slow water movement of water will allow us to do a couple of things. It allows us to capture that water so we don't have floods, or we can lessen the impact of floods and thereby lessen the cost of flood control. And secondly, it gets into the ground where it recharges the system at a higher level, because it runs into a mulch bed or something like that. It goes under that mulch bed and has time to go down into the ground and up in the trees. Some of it will be lost through evapotranspiration through the trees and the grasses. But it's a way to capture water and to have a plus to the equation instead of a minus.
Right.
And floods are a minus. Fast-moving water is a minus, because for our area, the faster the water runs away from us, the faster it gets to the creeks, the faster it gets to Phoenix, and we don't get use of it.
It seems that that's how it always goes.
Well, it is if you just sit back and let it.
Right.
But if you look at that resource and you say, I value that resource now, and for just a little bit of investment, I can save myself a lot of money through not having to pay for flood control projects. I can save myself a lot of money through not having to irrigate my lawns, and I can save a lot of money because now we don't have to build an additional water infrastructure, because I don't need additional waters to irrigate and to have a quality of life that I want to have. And so people, as folks start to understand the nature of appropriate conservation methods over and above what we already have, they'll start to understand that it's not that complex, it's not that costly, and it's a benefit long-term to both them and the system.
Okay. Tom O'Halloran with the Verde River Basin Partnership is in studio today. I'm Paul David. We've got to take a quick 2-minute break, and we'll be right back.
Having a fire escape plan is very important to keep your family safe and together in the event of a fire. When you awake to the sound of a smoke detector and smoke in your room, don't stand straight up. Carefully roll off your bed and stay low under the smoke. If your door is shut, feel the door with the back of your hand. Slowly open the door if no heat is felt. Always stay low until you get to the outside of your home. Always have 2 ways out of your house and a specified meeting place somewhere outside your home. Home escape plans should be drawn up and rehearsed on a regular basis. This could be the difference between life and death if caught in a fire.
Yes, ready. Go get it.
Oh, come on, Randy. Animal shelter, here I come. And no, I'm not crazy or emotionally damaged. That's a stereotype. I just belong to a total loser. I'm a good dog. So if you want a pet, adopt. And if you see Randy, tell him he dropped his wallet.
Fire can happen at any time. What would you try to save?
My family photos.
My grandfather's war memorabilia.
My dogs.
I'm firefighter Brandon Wacker with the Cotton Fire Department. A working smoke detector is your best defense in the event of a fire. Make sure you have a smoke detector in every room except your kitchen. Test them monthly and change the battery once a year. Take the time to save the things you can't replace.
60 seconds, literally.
It was that. It was like...
It's easy to tell if you've had way too many. But what if you've had just one too many? Buzz driving is drunk driving.
I don't know.
Welcome back to Countywide. I'm Paul David. Tom O'Halloran with Verde River Basin Partnership in studio today. We've got just a couple minutes left of the program, but we have a couple public meetings coming up on October 3rd.
October 3rd, we have 2 presentations at Yavapai College in Clarkdale.
Okay.
At 601 Black Hills Road. And it's in building room M. 137, which is at the far end, west end of the campus.
Okay.
And we're going to have 2 presentations, one on the seepage run that has been run here on the Verde River. And it's an important, we ran one in 07, we just got done running one in 11. And it'll identify how the river flows in the summer versus the winter months, how irrigation impacts the river, how different climates impact the river. And that presentation will be fairly short. And then Steve Ayers from the Verde Independent, who's very well versed in water issues, had gone up to Oregon and looked at how they irrigate. And Steve also is president of the Eureka Ditch. And he's going to identify what he learned in Oregon and how maybe it's going to be able to benefit our river flows into the future.
Okay.
I look at this as a very important presentation in one of those leaps forward on how we're going to make, because we can look at the Big Chino all we want, but if we dry up the river during the summer ourselves because of how we use the river during the summer, then we're part of the problem. We're not part of the solution.
Correct.
You know, so that's the presentation. We're coming out with a water primer in the upcoming month that'll be more science orientated. But all this information can be found at vrbp.org.
VRBP.
Our website. It's a temporary site, but all the information's on there. vrbp.org. And come and see us at the Verde River Days, and our meetings are always open to the public, and we put them out, and they're free. All these presentations that we put on are free. We have now merged with the Verde Watershed Association, and they have a presentation every month. The VRBP has one every quarter, and so literally we're now having 16 presentations a year at minimum on water issues that are important to the public, and the public's always invited to any one of our presentations.
All right, let's wrap it up. That's October 3rd, a Wednesday, next Wednesday, believe it or not already. Yavapai College's Clarkdale Campus Room M137, 601 Black Hills Drive. The presentations are going to be at what time?
2 o'clock to 4 o'clock.
2 o'clock to 4 o'clock on October 3rd. All right, Tom, good to see you again.
Same here, and thanks for everybody listening.
Oh, we'll have you back again here real soon, I'm sure. All right, I'm Paul David. That's today's Countywide. We'll talk to you again next time.
This has been Countywide, a special presentation of Yavapai Broadcasting News. Listen in each Tuesday and Thursday as we tackle the hot topics and talk to the decision makers across Yavapai County. That's Countywide with Brad Miller and Paul David each Tuesday and Thursday on this Yavapai Broadcasting station.